Hachana Wewana, Hachana Wewana, you way, hey, Wane, you way, hey, Wane. Hachana Wewana, Hachana Wewana, you way, hey, Wane, you way, hey, Wane.
Chapter 5 Ishi's Story of Wood Duck. He was telling of a lizard and a duck who came to woo a maiden. They were rivals, and the lizard cut the duck in two, thereby winning the maiden. Then the eyebrows of the duck were placed in the water overnight. The next day, the duck, wholly recovered, flew away. 1911, September 6th and 7th, Ishi's Story of Wood Duck. The Yahi season, or moon, for wood duck mating season. We are inside the UC Museum of Anthropology on Parnassus Avenue, San Francisco. Storyteller Ishi calls in Wood Duck Man, whose Yahi name is Utetna. According to Yahi belief, the Wenote song is the love song for calling in Wood Duck Man, especially during the month of March, which is wood duck mating season. The Wenote love song is sung 5 times in the round. There is a rising and falling rhythm that is heard. Wenote, 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 Wenote. In the long ago, a traditional song catcher caught or traded for this treasured vocable, a sound in nature, because of its inherent power or medicine that emanated from supernatural wood duck man, one of the first people. Special sounds in nature called vocables have wenihan, good thoughts, good feelings. That is why they are collected and remembered. The Song of Wood Duck, when sung by Ishi in public for a second time on September the 7th of 1911, was when Thomas Waterman recorded Ishi's Wood Duck song on the Edison wax cylinder machine. 5 is the good luck or power number of both the Yana and the Mountain Maidu tribes of Northern California. Hence, when power songs are sung, their round for singing their traditional songs is usually 5 times. In a traditional Indian Nights entertainment session, one among the elders explains the importance of stories to the children. Stories are told to help make right decisions in the people's daily lives. The children's attention is achieved by inviting each and every youth to be in the story by the holy storyteller. Listen for what comes to mind for you upon hearing and seeing the story. Always Ishi stood when he sang his songs, and when he was storytelling, he had the gift of transforming or shape-shifting his voice and body language of being several different creatures in the same story. First he stands and sings the song. When storytelling, Ishi might begin while sitting in a straight-back chair. In another scene, he would be squatting on his heels. His facial expressions of surprise, hurt, or laughter were contagious. His body gestures helped tell all. He spoke as much by rolling his eyes or showing a facial expression of being perplexed. His bare toes wiggled. His hands shaped imagined things. All were devices to convey wonder to keep the all-important narrative building. Ishi knew that each and every bird and creature has its own call or voice. He performed them. His ability to imitate the sounds of nature was among his strongest talents. Preface to say, Yana interpreter Sam Batwey was present and whispered in English to call reporter Mary Ash Miller, and sometimes to Waterman, every action and verse of the Wood Duck story, which is largely why we have it today. Sam surely inspired Ishi to tell his story of Wood Duck. Wenote is the love song used by Wood Duck Man for attracting a mate. Here begins Ishi's story of Wood Duck with the song. Wenote, 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 Wenote. Utetne decided he wanted a wife. The handsome colored drake smelled the air. He sniffed some more. 3 more times he sniffed. His plumage changed with every sniff or move he made to each of the 4 directions. By watching storyteller Utetne, one could tell his feelings, also his inner thoughts, by the manner in which he agitates his dark green iridescent crest of feathers, his eyebrows. And they would be flat and smooth in one moment. Suddenly, they bristle erect. "Who is that who calls to me using my own voice?" wondered Wood Duck Man. "Wenote, wenote." Very soft and very sweet it is indeed. "Wenote, wenote." When sung the right way, it worked as a potent elixir that causes creatures to fall in love. Yes, that smell. It tells me that there is a woman who is thinking about me. Ah, she approaches. Her name is Kitipku, Skunk Woman. So now the drake, handsome wood duck man who lives in the all of nature, flew to the source. Down the dark wooded stream he glided, swooping up and then down. There, he alighted at the Wowie where his 2 sisters live. His sisters' names were Utetna and Utetni. He ruffled his brow crest up and down. That always gets their attention this way. "I have seen in the near distance female suitors coming for me. My sisters, you are to prepare food for any and all of the women who come to marry me. Put the food you prepare in a large basket and hand it to me." The 2 obeyed their only brother. They gathered basimatla, the black acorn. They pounded it. They leached it, worked it into a paste. They baked this into sana, acorn bread. Into the big baskets they placed it. They ported all this food and set every filled basket before Utetne. Utetne knew Skunk Woman had arrived. He called to his sisters, "You are both to greet the one who is arriving now." "Brother, what is our guest's name to greet?" they asked. He pretended to them that he did not know. "Well, I have no idea," he said. Then the sisters saw, coming in a hurry from the east, a little woman with stripes. They learned from her that her name was Kitipku, Skunk Woman. She was the first to arrive and wanted to marry their brother. They visited, but Wood Duck Man said, "Cooey, no." He took the basket of food and gave it to Skunk Woman. He would not marry her because she did not smell right. Storyteller Ishi, who plays Utetne, returned to the same spot where he began singing Wenote. Standing again, he sang another round 5 times. "Wenote, wenote, 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 wenote." The drake sniffed and sniffed the air again. He knew that another female consort was approaching. 3 more times he sniffed. Her name was Kakakina, Flint Woman. He called to his sisters, "You both are to greet the one who is arriving now." "And brother, who might this guest be whom we are to greet?" they asked. He pretended that he did not know who she was. "I have no idea who she is," he lied. By and by, the sisters saw a second woman approaching from the west, who oddly, as she walked, zigzagged this way and that. Was she blind? The sisters wondered. They learned that her name was Kakakina, Flint Woman. She was the second to arrive and wanted to marry their brother. They visited, but Wood Duck Man said, "Cooey!" He took another basket of food and gave it to Flint Woman. "Cooey!" he repeated to her. He dismissed her because she had no eyes. While accounts differ, the main character, Bachelor, who lived with his two sisters upon singing and singing his power song, attracted a total of either 19 or 20 creatures. In addition to Skunk Woman and Flint Woman, there were Water Dog, Water Bug, Bat Woman Fish Hawk, Chipmunk, Shike Poke, Rainbow Woman, Mussel Woman, Abalone Woman, Fox Woman, Mountain Quail, Brown Bear Woman, Dentalium Woman, Magnesite Woman, Morning Star Woman, Blue Crane Woman, Beaver Woman, and Turtle Woman. But as the story has it, each time Wood Duck Man found something objectionable and so rejected them all. 3 Northern California newspapers with similar versions are provided. Mary Ash Miller, he tells them the story of Wood Duck who couldn't get a wife. 1911, September the 7th, San Francisco Call wrote, "How Wood Duck loved." All afternoon nearly was consumed with the recital of a wonderful Indian tale, which, like a Chinese tragedy, wound its way with deliberation. It was all about the wood duck, Utetne, who said he wanted to get married, but who never, so long as the tale extended yesterday, found a woman to his liking. Batwee said finally that he could not understand the conduct of the wood duck as related by Ishi. It seemed to him that the wood duck didn't want a wife at all. "I don't think he want anyone at all, but I don't blame him. All those women got to no business come there at all. Well, I take the first one come, maybe take all," said Batwee large-heartedly. The wood duck lived with his two sisters, and because he wanted a wife, he sang a song which was warranted to make all women love him. As illustrated by Ishi yesterday, it could hardly be successful along those lines now. Wenote it ran, and that was all, over and over with rising or falling inflection, and an occasional quaver. He chanted, "Wenote, Wenote." Sam Batwee evidently takes a pride in his friend's performances, for he urged the unknown to sit up straight when he sang. Utetne was visited first by the little striped skunk woman, Ki-Tipku, who came out of the east in a hurry to marry him. He sent her away because she did not smell right. Wherein they failed. The wood duck had a way of sniffing the air after he sang, and he could by this means tell when a woman was beginning to talk or think of him and to start to come to him, even though she were 100 miles away. He would then order his sisters up, sometimes in the middle of the night, to prepare food for, to, and all the women who came to marry him. He presented a large basket of food after he had refused them. He, Utetne, was singularly correct in his treatment of those who came to marry him, and even though he had sniffed the air and knew they were going, he always sent his sisters out to greet them on their arrival and pretended he didn't know who they were. After the little striped skunk woman came the flint woman, Kakakina, who was dismissed because she had no eyes. The crane woman, Gary, who met with no favor because she spoke the language of another tribe, her talking being Winton. The water bug woman, Hop-U Muku, the turtle woman, dressed up in an elk skin, the beaver woman, the fish hawk woman, the abalone woman, the bat woman, and last of all of his list, the rain crow woman came also, and none met with anything cheering in their reception except the basket of food. When it is finally finished, the results will be announced. The next day's issue of the Call, September 8th, had the sequel. Aborigine has 19 forest maids apply for squaw job, but bride is still mystery. 1911, September 7th, the San Francisco Examiner reads, 19 times Ishi repeated this story, always in the same words, about 19 damsels who came to wed the singer, and each time he intoned the love song, and each time the sisters provided baskets filled plentifully with the meal for the disappointed ones. Each day Utetne killed game in the woods, and his sisters cooked it. How the Wood Duck Story Ended. Mary Ash Miller, sequel, Wood Duck Story, 1911, September 8th, the San Francisco Call. Mary Ash Miller reported that early the following morning, Ishi finished the tale. Wood Duck falls in love with a beautiful young girl, but she is won by a rival called Channa, the lizard. Kalchana cuts Wood Duck in two, but he is restored to life after someone, perhaps his sisters, puts his eyebrows in a basket of water. However, Lizard has meanwhile married the young girl, and so Wood Duck is left alone. Similar sequel conclusion reached in Butte County, Wild Man Talks for Phonograph, September 8, 1911, The Sacramento Bee, page 8. He was telling of a lizard and a duck who came to woo a maiden. They were rivals, and the lizard cut the duck in two, thereby winning the maiden. Then the eyebrows of the duck were placed in the water overnight. The next day, the duck, wholly recovered, flew away. Alfred Kroeber's request was carried out in marathon fashion by all. On September 7, 1911, Alfred Kroeber returned, and as Waterman predicted, Kroeber was very delighted that their informant volunteered to begin storytelling. Kroeber seized the moment. Kroeber asked Waterman to sound record Ishi's Wood Duck Man story in its entirety and to have Batwee's help in its translation. What? One could think by then that Waterman and Ishi would have both had enough of the Wood Duck Man story, but to the contrary, all three of them maintained their willingness to get it done. Ishi's enthusiasm was apparently contagious. Respect and camaraderie for Kroeber as chief was at a high point, and work was work. According to Kroeber's mentor and father of modern anthropology, Franz Boas in New York, anthropologists' vital service for all of humankind is to salvage the stories from all virgin cultures, now doomed, now vanishing, now fleeting. To the field, then, with notebook and pencil, record, record, record. Rescue from historylessness all languages still living, all cultures. Theodora Kroeber, 1970, page 51. It had to be late when the work was done. It took a total of 51 cylinders to do it, lasting 2¼ hours. That's 134 minutes, 55 seconds, explained Ira Jackness, research archivist with the Phoebe A. Hearst Museum in Berkeley. Moreover, Waterman, that same month in 1911, wrote in one of his notebooks a near-complete English translation of the Wood Duck story, but never published it himself. Then, in about 1959, Theodora Kroeber retrieved and studied Waterman's notebook that was preserved in the Bancroft Library. She published her Wood Duck summary of it, consisting of only 5 paragraphs in her well-received work, Ishi in Two Worlds, 1961, pages 200 to 201. Thus, Miss Kroeber's stellar deed kept Ishi's story of Wood Duck in the public memory. This chapter's Wood Duck story was written 106 years since Ishi's death in 1916. Ishi's Wood Duck story appears to have been partly an autobiographical allegory. The colorful drake was handsome. Ishi was handsome. His sisters' names were Utut Na and Utut Ni. Ishi's 2 sisters in real life were likely Yensolsti and sister cousin Redwing. Mountain Maidu elder Marie Potts revealed her tribe's secret in 1971 that Ishi had 2 sisters. She wrote, Ishi was our next door neighbor, and one of Ishi's sisters was married into our tribe. Potts Papers in Francis Rydell collection.
And the mexicano, oh, oh, oh.